Bicki Smith, and I am a master's student in the Department of Instructional Technology and Learning Science at Utah State University. In one of my classes, Instructional Technology in Adult Education, we have been exploring philosophies of education and comparing teaching adults with teaching children. In conjunction with my learning goals for this class, today I am interviewing Bicki Smith, an educator with experience teaching both children and adults. Bicki is in the process of developing a business which includes an online course with two relevant objectives. One, she will be teaching art and creative thinking to children. Two, she will be coaching parents to expand their children's creative confidence. So let's get started. Thank you for your time and willingness to do this interview, Bicki. To begin, please tell us, what is your philosophy of education?
Well, it started when I went to grade school and expanded, and in my 20s I had this vision of a community school that was really focused on allowing resources to be available to families and parents and children. And I saw this school as being a place where experts and teachers were there, the families would come in and contract with these people to teach and tutor the children to those needs. And then to have availability for the whole community for the resources, library, and that type of thing. So that families are involved in education and that it becomes a choice, that the learner is the one who chooses where they're wanting to go and how to get there, and that resources become available so that that community supplies those resources to enable the learner to actually be able to reach their goal in education.
Sounds very interesting. Thank you. Considering your experience, what are the main similarities and differences between teaching adults and teaching children?
Working with both of those populations is kind of fun and interesting. There's a lot of similarities because we're all human, but there are some differences. One of the things that I've noticed with adults was that they weren't as willing to adventure and explore kinds of things. They were a little reticent about going into new territory. But one of the things that they had is they had a wonderful base of knowledge and experience that they could build their learning on. But if they were into a new territory, scary, they were very hesitant about adventuring and being curious. Of course, that depends on the adult. Some adults are very, very curious and they don't worry about that type of thing, but there are a lot of adults who have that fear. Whereas children, they don't have that fear, especially when they're young. They're going to explore. They're not afraid to fail. They're just so interested in learning and absorbing information that they just go from one thing to another, enjoying that whole process. And one of the things that is similar is children and adults want to learn. That seems to be something that is very, very evident in most adults and children, is that desire to learn. They need to have a sense of accomplishment in doing their learning. So when they are encouraged and that accomplishment is strengthened, they are both going to excel. But I have seen in the school system where there are children who have given up. They've failed so many times and negative impacts on them that they finally just throw up their hands and say, I'm not going to learn anymore. I'm not interested in learning. So they end up with behaviors that just aren't conducive to learning in the classroom. Adults that get to that point, they just don't choose to learn. They don't choose to go into classes. So those are kinds of things that are kind of fun. One of the things that my research that I found that really interesting is this 3 tasks kind of thing. We think of it, children, keep it simple, keep it down to 3 tasks. And then I read some research related to the military where they started taking a look at setting out tasks for the military personnel and found that, hey, lo and behold, 3 tasks is the most efficient, effective way of getting things done with even adults. And so that's one of those similarities that I have found that is very useful and trying to keep things simple and just working with small blocks of time and an activity or a task for the learner that they need to have their hands in it, because all of us have kinesthetic ways of learning, visual ways of learning, audio ways of learning. Each of us have our own preference and learn best in that area, but we need all three for it to really stick in our minds and in our bodies. So those are some of the similarities and some of the differences there that I've observed. There's a lot more I could go into detail with, but we don't have time right now. But those are some of the ones that I've found are really important.
Thank you very much. Okay, now Vicki, considering your experience and your philosophy of education, how has technology impacted the teaching of children and adults?
It's a huge impact. I started teaching when technology really wasn't, well, we had technologies, but not like the internet and video format. And that has really made an impact I have seen in the classroom. Some of the exciting, fun things that I did with kids was to work with cameras. And so they went out, they did pictures and then brought it back. They developed presentation programs with that type of thing. Being able to take pictures, and that can go into any subject area, to have children start using the camera, start using presentations, and then going to the internet and researching information, getting ideas. The internet is full of fabulous, fabulous ideas. So it's expanding the creativity of the student and exposing them to a lot more ideas than we had, say, 20, 30 years ago. It's impacting adult learning as well, because a lot of adults are going online to get education in areas that they're interested in. For myself, I have been attending online webinars of areas that I'm interested in. Summits where there's a whole bunch of audios that are available for you to listen to. So this is a real strong impact. And then the fact that I can just go on and do a Google search. What an awesome way to learn. I used to use the encyclopedia all the time. I have an encyclopedia set at home. I still use it every once in a while. But my first place is internet. That's where I go to find my information. And a couple of things that have really, in recent years, have been very impactful is the Khan Academy that Salman Khan has created. Just an amazing, amazing online resource, getting education out to the public, and it's gone worldwide to people who are well-to-do and people who are very poor in third world countries are having access to learning. And then there's the Annenberg Project. It's been, the Annenberg Foundation is a family foundation that's been around for a lot of years, developing videos and looking in the classroom, looking at other kinds of things having to do with the arts as well. And I had followed some of their stuff on PBS. And then I discovered that I could access them actually online, and I could go in and access any of the subject areas that I was interested in on my time. And that's the beautiful thing about technology, is you can access it on your time and according to your pace. Take it. If you can only see half of it, you see half of it. You go back and then you see the end of it. And you can take notes. You can rewind and take notes. It's just making learning an amazing, wonderful way of being able to absorb information. And so I just find technology awesome, wonderful, and so helpful to the learner. Me especially, and I know a lot of other people as well.
Thank you so much. And this is also an example of how technology is benefiting us by being able to do this interview with you today. So, Bicki, thank you so much for sharing your perspective and your insights in teaching adults and children and using technology to do it. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed this, appreciate it, and the best to you in what you're doing.
Thank you.